Have you ever finished a thought and genuinely wondered if it was actually yours? You're driving to work or staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., and an opinion forms in your mind about something happening halfway across the world. You feel passionate about it. You feel angry. But if you trace that feeling back to its origin, the trail goes cold. You didn't experience the event. You didn't verify the facts. You downloaded the emotional reaction like a software update. This is not an accident. It is a feature of the modern world. We like to believe we are the architects of our own reality, building our lives based on free will and independent logic. We cherish the idea of our individuality, but there is a silent mechanism at play, a constant low-hum frequency that has been running in the background of your life since the day you were born. It is the steady drip of media programming that shapes not just what you buy, but who you believe you are. Most people think I'm talking about advertising. They think the danger is simply a commercial trying to sell them a new car or a different brand of toothpaste. If only it were that simple. That is just the surface-level distraction. The true depth of this programming is far more sinister and much harder to detect. It's not about selling you products, it's about selling you a specific version of reality. But the most terrifying part isn't that they are doing it, it's that we let them. There is a psychological trapdoor that allows this programming to bypass your critical thinking entirely, a hidden vulnerability in the human mind that I will reveal in just a moment. Once you understand how this trapdoor works, you will never look at a screen the same way again. To understand the silent agreement, we first have to look at the environment we live in. We are swimming in a sea of information that never stops moving. From the moment you wake up to the glowing rectangle on your nightstand, to the podcasts filling the silence of your commute, to the screens mounted on the walls of restaurants and airports, the input is continuous. The human brain was never designed for this volume of data. For thousands of years, our reality was defined by what we could touch, see, and hear within our immediate vicinity. Our world was a few miles wide. Today, the human brain attempts to process the tragedy, triumph, and chaos of 8 billion people simultaneously. Because this is biologically impossible, your brain looks for shortcuts. It looks for a filter. Enter the media. The media steps in as the benevolent narrator of this chaos. It offers to organize the world for you. It says, don't worry about the complexity. Here is the story. Here are the heroes. Here are the villains. And here is how you should feel about it. This is the first clause of the silent agreement. You trade your critical thinking for emotional comfort. It is exhausting to analyze every piece of information, so we silently agree to let the screen tell us what is important. But notice how the stories are told. They are rarely presented as nuanced, complex situations with gray areas. They are presented as binary conflicts, good versus evil, us versus them. This isn't just lazy writing. It is a calculated technique known as divisive priming. By framing reality as a constant battle, the media forces you to pick a side. And the moment you pick a side, you stop thinking and start defending. You become a soldier in a war you didn't start, fighting for opinions you were assigned. Consider the emotional palette of your daily feed. It is heavily weighted towards outrage, fear, and insecurity. This is not a coincidence, it is biology. Fear is the most primal human emotion. It overrides logic. When you are frightened, you look for a protector. When you are outraged, you look for validation. The media algorithms prioritize this content not just because it keeps you clicking, but because it keeps you in a state of high-frequency suggestibility. When you are in a state of low-level anxiety, which is the default state for most modern consumers, your defenses are down. You are no longer guarding the gates of your mind. You are open to suggestion. You begin to accept premises that would sound insane to a calm, rational observer. You start believing that your neighbor is your enemy, that the world is on the brink of collapse, and that you are powerless to stop it.
This leads us to the concept of reality tunneling. If you and your neighbor have different search histories, you are literally living in different universes. The algorithm learns your biases and feeds them back to you, amplifying them until they become your entire horizon. You assume everyone sees the world the way you do, and you cannot understand why others are so blind. But they are in their own tunnel, looking at a completely different set of facts. The silent agreement is ratified when you stop questioning the tunnel. You accept the curated feed as the absolute truth. You mistake the map for the territory. You begin to define your identity by the media you consume. I am the kind of person who watches this channel. I am the kind of person who reads this paper. But here's the twist I promised you earlier, the trapdoor. The vulnerability isn't in the screen, it is in your need for belonging. The media utilizes a weaponized version of social pressure known as the spiral of silence. We are terrified of being isolated. We are terrified of being the one person who disagrees with the consensus. So when the media presents a fabricated consensus, when they tell you everyone agrees on a certain topic, your brain panics. To avoid social exile, you adopt the opinion, even if it contradicts your own senses. You override your own intuition to stay safe within the herd. That is the trapdoor. They don't need to force you to believe. They just need to make you afraid of what happens if you don't. So, where does this leave us? Is it hopeless? Absolutely not. Recognizing the programming is the antidote. The moment you see the strings, the puppet show loses its power. You can break the silent agreement today. It doesn't require you to move to a cabin in the woods or smash your smartphone with a hammer. It requires a shift in consciousness. It requires you to move from being a passive consumer to an active observer. When you see a headline designed to make you angry, pause. Ask yourself, who benefits from me feeling this way? When you feel the urge to jump onto a bandwagon, stop. Ask yourself, is this my thought or is this an echo? You must reclaim the sanctity of your own attention. Treat your mind like a private garden, not a public dumping ground. You have the right to close the gate. You have the right to say, I do not consent to this narrative. The reality they present is fragile. It relies entirely on your participation. Without your attention, their power evaporates. You are the battery that powers the machine, and you have the ability to disconnect. Imagine a life where your emotions are your own. Imagine waking up and deciding how you feel based on the weather outside, the smile of a loved one, or the goals you have set for yourself, rather than the breaking news ticker. That reality is waiting for you. It is sitting right there, just behind the noise. The programming is loud, but your will is stronger. You have the ultimate authority over your own consciousness. You simply have to remember that you hold the keys. This is a journey of reclaiming your own soul from the digital noise. It starts with a single decision to value your own perception over the projected illusion. It starts with trust, trusting yourself more than you trust the screen. If you have felt this pressure, if you have felt the weight of this artificial reality trying to crush your individuality, and you are ready to make the declaration that you are taking your mind back, I want you to make a commitment right now. Leave a mark that signifies your return to reality. Go to the comments and simply write, I trust my eyes. Let that be the signal that the programming has failed.